This is the gospel according to the IRS, Breaking Points, and Church Financial Updates. And now, here's the authority, Dr. Michael Chitwood, and Breaking Points.
Today, I want to give you the final conclusion on the application for tax-exempt status, and that is simply this. Are you listed in Pub 78? Publication 78. Publication 78 is a huge book that tells you every tax-exempt organization in America. The question that you must ask yourself today, are you in the big book? Because the opposite of being in the big book is being out. Grab a pen and a pad. I'm ready to start. First of all, I want you to write this down. Application for tax-exempt status, get you your letter of determination. We covered that in a breaking story not too long ago, where the church lost its tax-exempt status, and the only way that you could have complied with that is to make sure that you had your house in order. So make sure that you write down letter of determination. And number two, you get that through the application 1023. That's all great. Number three, after you get that letter of determination, it's important for you to make sure that you have your name listed in what we call Pub 78. Make a note, there's 3 volumes now, and those volumes are broken down based on the name of the church, name of the organization. So Publication 78 is an Internal Revenue book that's put out by the Internal Revenue Service, U.S. Printing Department, that allows you, U.S. Government Printing Department, that allows you to see if your name is in the big book. Now, why that's important is because most members are still under the belief that they give their charitable contributions because they 2 things. One, it's according to the Word of God. You know, there's 2 commandments there. Bring your tithe and offerings into the storehouse. And I don't want to get into that because you're much more qualified to speak about that subject than I am probably. Number 2 is that they still have it in their mind that they get a tax deduction. So when they're audited, the first thing that some Internal Revenue agents will do, this is breaking news by the way, they will look in the Pub 78 book to see if your church is in Pub 78. If it's in there, then 9 times out of 10, your member is going to be home free on charitable contributions as far as deducting those charitable contributions. If your name's not in there, though, you've got a problem, because then they're going to ask that parishioner or member to go back to their church and say, look, provide us with your letter of determination, and then the next thing you know, you've got the Internal Revenue Service all over you, looking at you, looking you up and down, looking at the member's mad. Why go through that confusion when you can do it real simple? I think you would agree with me that sometimes we make things a little bit too hard. Sometimes we concentrate and major on the minor and minor on the major. We need to make sure that we do the things that we're supposed to do. That way we'll be out of way of the Internal Revenue Service if there's ever an audit. Do it right, keep it straight. Now, breaking news that I told you I was going to break to you today from yesterday's program, and that is this. A new ruling. Will the IRS consider deacons of the church for housing allowance purposes ordained? The answer to that will be yes, if they are performing the 9 sacerdotal duties. Now, it's very unlikely that all of them are going to be able to do the sacerdotal duties. It's not going to work that way. So you have to make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that as you approach this, that you approach this with a good understanding. I will tell you this. Not too long ago, there was a man that came into a church, and be careful who you listen to with this information, because not everybody understands nonprofit law and nonprofit accounting. Be careful when you talk to a lawyer. If that lawyer's giving you some advice, you need to ask him for a legal opinion. Get it in writing, because just his word on the telephone, that doesn't mean anything if you're called in for an audit. This man that was an accountant from Dallas said, well, just ordain everybody in the church. Ordain the janitor, ordain the organ player, ordain all the Sunday school teachers. Can they be ordained for God's purposes? Yes, they can be ordained for God's purposes. But are they ordained for tax purposes? No, they're not, unless they're doing the 9 sacerdotal duties. Can you imagine a Sunday school teacher doing the 9 sacerdotal duties? The answer is absolutely no. So you have to make sure that you, as the church check writer, the church bookkeeper, the church board, the trustees, the elders, the deacons, that's what your job is to run the church right, to make sure you're complying with the laws of the land. That's why that breaking points is going to be very important to you, not only now, but as days go by, because changes are coming down from the IRS and from states left and right. We've got a new Corporate Responsibility Act, Corporate Greed Act. All of this is under the Sarbanes-Oxley bill, and ladies and gentlemen, you need to make sure that you're complying with all the laws of the land. You'll find out that God cannot bless a mess. Till next time, I'm Michael Chitwood.
Breaking Points gives you the latest IRS updates and tax law. Pastor, if the IRS came to your church today, what would you say? If you really want your house of worship in order, call 1-800-345-9117.